Hello everyone, let's continue to look at the third question in the Certified Kubernetes Administrator exam question bank. The main content of the third question is about collecting log files. Of course, it's not just about logs in this question. The main point of this question is to have us use containers to achieve log integration for traditional applications, so that the logs of our applications can be viewed directly through our commands. Because under normal circumstances, when we use the kubectl logs command, what can we actually see? We can only see, well, only some of the log content related to kubectl can be viewed some content inside the pod. As for the specific logs, the logs of the actual service can't be viewed directly. Because under normal circumstances, what is this command used for? It's used to view the logs of certain related resources, not the logs of the programs running inside the containers within the pod. These are different. So in this question, what are we mainly doing? We're mainly using a container to handle this. We need to modify the log configuration so that we can view it using the kubectl logs command. This is our basic requirement. Alright, so first, the specific requirements are about the following. First, what do we need to use? We need to use an existing deployment and use an existing image. To do what? To perform this task. Deploy the container. Or you could also call it deploying the pod. After deployment, we need to run the command to view our logs. Then we use a data volume mounted under the var log directory to share the log files. In this case, the question requires everyone to pay attention. It specifically asks not to modify the existing container, Okay? Only what? Only to add the required volume, to mount our volume. We cannot modify our container. This is a basic requirement of the question. Alright, so first here, let's take a look at the specific solution to this problem. Of course, don't forget at the beginning, remember to switch environments for each question. If you forget to switch, what might happen? You might find that halfway through, hey, tab completion doesn't work. Or halfway through, hey, the commands don't seem to execute correctly. Even though you've written everything right, there's no effect when you run it. That could be because you're connected to the wrong remote environment. So for every question, make sure that after you finish one, you exit first, and then enter the environment for the current question. Then proceed with the operations. All right, next, let's take a look at this question specifically. How do we handle this log? First of all, according to the requirements, what can we do? We can't create or modify the current container. We can only perform operations related to mounting a data volume based on the existing setup. So first here, let's enter our terminal. I've already connected here, right? So what do we do here? First, we use a command to get the current. Didn't the question say that we already have a deployment? That's it. Then, using a command to export its configuration file. Because it already exists now, it's already there, so we can import its configuration file. All right, let's export its configuration file first. After exporting the configuration file, we can take a look. Let's edit it. Let's edit the file we just exported. Basically, we're just going to modify this file. The main content coming up is about editing this file. So first, after opening it, let's take a look at its current basic state, its basic situation. All right, here we can see that there are quite a lot of basic configurations at the moment. There really are a lot of settings, because for this kind of configuration, especially for services that have already been created, the configuration is usually quite comprehensive. Of course, we don't actually need to manually specify all of these. Many of the settings are set to their defaults. So here, what are we looking for? All right, let's go ahead and locate this particular item together right now. Here, since we want to modify the configuration, there are 3 or 4 sections, right? The version type, well, that's definitely something we can't change. As for the metadata, there's not much to modify there either. It's mainly just some name-related information. What we mainly need to change is the details section. So here, what do we need to find first? Find the section below. Let's look for it. First up, here it is. We found our DNS policy section. Now add the content above the DNS policy. Be careful, make sure to add it above the DNS section. Why does it have to be above? Well, there's a reason. The second time, the indentation is at this position, which is actually where our container-related information is. You can see the container image name, right? The download policy, right? And so on. These are all container-related details. So here, we just need to look above the DNS policy to find a blank spot to write it in. You can just insert it right here. What are we inserting? We're inserting the relevant content for the data volume. Because for this question, we're only allowed to modify the data volume, nothing else can be changed. You can't touch anything else. You can only modify the data volume, a new data volume, which is this one. The content is already provided in the question, and we can't change anything else. The deployment has already been created, and we can't touch anything else. You can only add a new volume. So here, we just add content, be sure not to delete anything. If you delete or remove something by mistake, it could cause problems. Right? It might result in missing some data or something like that. So here, first, let's write out the data volume we're going to mount. When it comes to mounting the data volume, what we write here is, first of all, as for specifying the name, like this, we first set the name and the path. For the path, it's our log, the path specified in the assignment. This is 1. Everyone, please pay attention. This is basically for the above. It continues from the previous content. So following the information of the container above, we are essentially mounting this content to the container, mounting our data volume. Pay attention to the section below, everyone. The part below is important there. It's already a container. Yes, it's already a container here. You can look up above, right? See here? Isn't that so? Right? Over here, containers refers to the container information. They have the container information here. Below, it's already a container. And then, according to the requirements in the question, besides the regular content, we also need to create something else, create a new container, and add it to the existing ones. So, to add it to the existing ones, what do we need to do here? Right? We need to keep writing this section, but pay attention to the indentation. The data volume we just mounted is for the directory of an existing container, so it should follow the structure of the container above. You just need to write it in the same way as the content for the container above. But if we're adding another container today, be careful where should the starting indentation align. It should align with the one above. Yes, align it with this position. Everyone, please pay attention to this. So here, we just need to specify it. Of course, if it's hard to align with the one above, you can align it with the one below. Right? If you align it with the one below, you just need to move 2 spaces ahead of the current name position. Actually, it just needs to align with the DNS below. Just align it with the DNS below. Okay. That's to just move 2 spaces forward. Then, first specify the name. As for the name, it's already provided in the question, so we just need to write it here. Next, pay attention to the image. Regarding the image, you see, starting from image, just align it the same way as the one above. Since this data volume here is essentially the detailed information for the data volume, it needs to be indented 2 spaces further than usual. But here, for our container, anything related to the container, just align it here. As for the image name, what do we call it here? It's also mentioned in the prompt, right? It's in the prompt, so here we just write everything exactly as it appears in the prompt. Alright. Next is the specific command that needs to be executed. For the specific command, just follow the requirements in the prompt. Just write it according to that. If the prompt requires, this sentence should be written just like this. in the prompt, we're actually asked to check something, right? We're asked to check some content. To check some information from our logs. Yeah, to check the log information. Because here, you can't use tab to save, and you can't use tab to autocomplete. So here, everyone please pay attention. After you finish writing, check it. I am missing an option here. After you finish editing, you must double check. Okay? Because what does it say? You wrote the command wrong. Or if you get any of the parameters wrong, the error it gives you, it's not that, it's not this. The error isn't here, right? It might actually cause some issues inside your container. So everyone needs to pay attention here. After you finish writing, next we just need to mount our data volume one last time, and that's it. So when it comes to mounting a data volume, the data volume should still be aligned with this. As for the specific content of the data volume, you need to write that yourself. Just go down to the next line and add it. Let's take a look here at the data volume above. Here, the content we're mounting is our, what is it? VR log. The specific path is VR log. Okay, so this is how we write the container part for this question. It's not over yet. This is just the container, right? So where does your data volume come from? We haven't created it yet. Here, we've just written two containers, both of which need to mount this data volume. But in reality, this data volume doesn't even exist yet. So what do we need to do here? We need to create the data volume, or you could call it declaring it. Let's first declare some information about the data volume. Where does it come from, right? What type of mount are we using? Since there are actually no specific requirements in our assignment, and we haven't created any directories, all we can do here is use the most basic type of data volume in empty directory. With this, the directory will be created automatically, so we don't need to create it manually ourselves. The shared directory will be created automatically, but it's not a permanent set of it. It isn't a permanent directory. It's more like a temporary directory. But the advantage is that it can create the directory by itself, so we don't need to do it manually. After writing it, let's save it. Once you finish writing, save it. And for checking, just take a quick look, right? Just glance over it to see if there are any issues. After that, you can go ahead and run it. If there are any problems when you run it, it will let you know. All right, let's save it, and then we'll start running it. Next, let's add this part. The file name ISO, it's this name. The error message here is about our later on, the mount path inside the container, there are some letters written in the wrong order here. Don't get nervous just because you see so many error messages. It's actually nothing serious. We just swapped two single letters. It's right here. It should be written like this. Look at the one below. Why is that? It's because of the one above right here. This is the one above the one below. These two are fine. So the part below is actually just a declaration declaring where your data volume comes from. And the part above is basically calling the data volume declared below, since the names are the same, right? We're using the same name. Let's run it again. It says that our arg is in this position. RJS. For things like these letters or symbols, when you encounter such issues, the error messages are actually quite clear. You just need to look at the last line of the message. What you see there is usually enough. You can ignore the earlier parts if you want. Just check the last line and you'll know where the basic error is. Usually at the end, it tells you, right, there's an error in the arg inside the container. In the SPC section of the template in our detailed information, it's like that. All right, no problem. Next, let's check who are we going to check. So we've got it running now, right? But you still can't be sure that our solution is completely correct. We need to use some commands to check. For checking, first let's use this one. Use get deployment to take a look at ours. Check the status, see if it's normal. This is our deployment. Now let's take a look at the pods. Alright, here we can see it just started up. Pay attention to the time. Everyone, it just started. It's only been up for a few dozen seconds, right? Just a few dozen seconds since it started. So what does this mean? This means, and also it's 2-2. Right? No problem here either. Right? It's 2-2. This means that both containers running inside it have started up. Because in the file we just edited, we actually specified 2 containers. Right? We modified one and created another. So that's how it is. Next, let's take a look at the logs. How do we print out these logs? This is the final step. If everything's normal at this step, then our verification is complete. This is a verification related to the logs. After the logs command, add our current one. Name. Here, you can use auto completion, right? Then, after that, specify our container. Specify our container. The container here is identified by name, and the one we just created is called this name, right? Okay, let's take a look. Alright. Here it comes, right? This is our log information. So what is this? This is the log modification for our third question, a modification related to container logs. Here, what you need to pay attention to is that one just now. The name from the pull command, you don't need to memorize that. There's no need to remember it. The way it works is, after you type logs, it can be auto-completed directly, so you really don't need to remember it. And actually, even if you did memorize it, it wouldn't help, because it's different for everyone. Every time you create one, the number, that is, the ID, is different each time. The IDs are all different, so don't worry about the ID. Just use it directly, just like this. It will auto-complete for you, and then after that, you specify the container. The container name is fixed. Well, maybe not exactly fixed, but it's the same as the one you created above. So whatever name you used when you created it above, you should use the same one here, right? You can also double check to make sure the name is correct by checking it. Again, just make sure it matches what's in the instructions. That's our first step. There are 3 points. The effect of the third point is that when we normally check the pods, both of our pods are running properly. That's the first thing. The second is that when you check the logs of the container specified in the instructions, you should be able to directly see some information appear. That's all you need to do. This is one way to verify this question. There are 2 parts. One is to make sure both containers in your pod are up and running. Not 2 pods, but 1 pod with 2 containers. And the other is that when you directly check the container logs, the information is displayed without any issues. That's it for our third question. The third question. If you need a complete question bank, you can leave a comment below and get the most reliable question bank at the best price. That's all for today. Goodbye, everyone.